Have you ever stopped to think about what's left of a life after it's all over? It's not just memories. It's a paper trail. Birth certificates, census forms, old newspaper clippings. Today, we're going to follow that trail. We're going to piece together the story of one person, just to see how the most mundane documents of a life can actually reveal a truly remarkable story.
I mean, seriously, think about that for a second. What would some historian 100 years from now learn about you from your tax returns or your Instagram feed or your driver's lessons? We're going to dig into that exact idea through the life of one man, Lyle Carringer. His story, pieced together from the archives, is just a fantastic case study in how history really gets built, one document at a time. Okay, so let's meet the man of the hour. This is Lyle Lawrence Carringer. He lived from 1891 all the way to 1976. And by all accounts, he was a pretty ordinary guy, right? He wasn't a famous general or a president, but that's what makes this so cool. His very ordinary life gives us this absolutely extraordinary window into what it was like to live through the 20th century in America.
And the stage for his entire life is set in just one place, San Diego, California. I mean, from the day he was born in 1891 to the day he died in 1976, he never left. His story is completely tied up in the growth and the changes of this one American city.
So let's start where every story does. At the beginning, we're going to look at his formative years, from his birth at the tail end of the 19th century right up until he enlists in World War I. And the very first clues to his life, they come from things like family records and old city directories.
And this timeline just perfectly shows how a life starts to take shape on paper. We see his birthplace, we see his childhood home, and then, look at this. In 1905, at just 14 years old, he starts working as a cash boy at Marston's department store. That one job is going to define his entire professional life. He graduates high school in 1914, and just like that, the first chapter of his story is written.
All right, so next, as Lyle steps into adulthood, you can see the story start to build. The paper trail gets way richer. Now we're getting official government and public records. We're talking military files, marriage licenses, census data, and these add totally new layers to his story.
Now, what's so cool about this is how a boring, old bureaucratic form can suddenly give us a real physical person. On May 7, 1917, Lyle Carringer stops being just a name. Suddenly, he's 67 3/4 inches tall. He weighs 121 pounds, and he has hazel eyes and brown hair. His job before enlisting? A floor walker, probably at Marston's. For the very first time, we can actually start to picture him.
And then you find a little gem like this. Squeezed in between all the official data, there's this personal note. After he qualified as a marksman in the Marines, someone, maybe it was Lyle himself, scribbled, "Lucky, as I've never handled rifle before." I mean, in just 8 words, you get this flash of his personality, humble, honest, and maybe just a little bit surprised at what he could do.
So while he's still serving in the Marines, life keeps happening. Lyle gets married, and thanks to a local newspaper announcement, we get this fantastic piece of color. His marriage to Emily Kemp Abel was a quiet affair, and the paper called it a complete surprise to their friends. It's a great reminder that even our biggest life events can have a little bit of spontaneity.
A couple of years later, the 1920 census gives us this perfect little snapshot of his new family. You can think of it like a formal family portrait, but made out of data. You've got Lyle. He's 28 now and working as an auditor. There's his wife, Emily, their baby daughter, Betty, and even his mother-in-law, Georgia, living with them. The household is officially established.
Okay, so these official records, they give us a really solid skeleton of Lyle's life. But what about the man himself? His passions, his hobbies. For that, we've got to look beyond the census data to a really unexpected source, one that reveals a whole hidden side of his life.
This number, it seems totally random, right? But it's actually incredibly important. This was the monthly mortgage payment on the house that Lyle and his family built on Fern Street back in 1920. It's such a specific, tangible detail that grounds us in the financial reality of their lives and the very beginnings of their American dream.
And it was at this house that his hidden world just blossomed. A 1935 newspaper article about local gardens suddenly shows us a side of Lyle that no other document could. See, he wasn't just an auditor, he was a master gardener, a creator of a backyard paradise. The article says they are never bored with their garden, and you're about to see why.
And just get a load of this. This was not just a few flower beds. This was an elaborate outdoor living room. He built 4 fish pools, a lath house that had a grill for entertaining, and even a heated glass house for his tropical fish. My favorite detail, though? A plant stand he made from an old piano stool. This shows us a man who was creative, resourceful, and loved having people over.
All right, now we move into Lyle's later years. As his life progresses, we can actually track his growing stability through more census data. But the story is really completed by something no official document can ever provide: the memories of his family.
Now this is pretty stunning. This census data from 1940 and 1950 shows his income jumping from less than $1,500 a year to over $7,000. And what's really fascinating is where that new income is coming from. Almost half of it is from investments. It shows he was a really savvy planner who managed to successfully navigate the post-war economy.
And all that hard work and smart planning, well, it paid off, big time. In 1950, at the age of 58, Lyle and Emily built their dream home, and the description says it all. A beautiful house on Point Loma with a fantastic view of the city and the bay. This was it, the culmination of a lifetime of work.
But what about the man himself? This is where his family fills in those last crucial details. The archives tell us what he did, but his family tells us who he was. A kind and gentle man, a passionate stamp collector with friends all over the world, a talented photographer, and a handyman who just never stopped building and creating. When you really boil it all down, these numbers tell a powerful story of dedication and stability. 85 years of life, 46 years working for the very same company, and 58 years of marriage to the same woman. I mean, that is a life of incredible consistency.
And so the story comes to an end. Lyle passed away in 1976 at 85 years old, and his obituary, which is the final public document of his life, it just distills everything down to its simplest form. He was a lifelong county resident and a Marston old-timer, a loyal employee of the same department store where he started as a boy.
Which brings us right back to that first question, doesn't it? Lyle Carringer's life shows us that a full, rich story is hidden in the documents we all create every single day. So, take a second to think about your own paper trail. What's it going to say? What hidden worlds, what secret gardens will it reveal about you to the historians of tomorrow?